Welcome to this lesson on business mindset. Business is a practice. So I know we hear this term a lot. You're going to start your coaching practice. Maybe you have a yoga practice. And what I want to try and define for you today is what that practice actually means. And it's really that you're coming back to the same goal time and time again. So when we're defining this word practice, it can take some practice. And so having our mindset solid from the very beginning is one of the key pieces to continuing to practice building your business in anything, coaching as well. I'm not going to lie to you and say that building a business is easy or that practicing this theoretical knowledge that you've gained during this time is easy. It's not, but we have to come back and remember why we started our business. When you start your business off with the idea that you're going to take an approach that is mindset based, you can come back to it time and time again, and it gets easier and easier and easier. Just like we need to coach our clients on practicing the things that we are teaching them, this takes practice as well. So there's a few things I would like to touch on today in order to help push you in the right direction in terms of how you're feeling about starting your business. There can be a lot of fear, limiting beliefs, and maybe negative thoughts from within yourself or within your community. Maybe your friends and family think that you starting your own business isn't a great idea. However, those are all projections of somebody else's thoughts and patterns when it comes to what this could look like for you. So when I talk about mindset within business, I want you to remember what limiting beliefs actually are, or negative thoughts actually are. A limiting belief could be something like, I'm not smart enough to start a business, or where am I going to fit within the holistic health realm? There's too many practitioners already. And these limiting beliefs are a perception of what, let's say, a perception and misunderstanding of what is actually true. And so by taking a step back for a minute, we can change our perception of something and gain perspective. So the difference between the two is that one is an emotional response. So by having a perception that's an emotional response to your limiting belief, sitting back and taking a minute and digging through that limiting belief or negative thought, removing the emotion from it, allows us to gain perspective and have a rational response to what we're feeling. So something I learned when I was training to be a yoga instructor was responsibility, right? If we break that word up, responsibility, we end up having the ability to respond. So by just pausing for a moment when we have a negative thought, whether it's about business, whether you're 10 months into creating your business and you're going, I just don't want to do this anymore, it's not worth it. Again, if you just take a step back, have a moment, have a pause, dig deep into that thought and try and see if you can have a different ability to respond to that thought. Because these are going to come up for you regardless of where you're at, regardless of if we're just starting or we've been in business for 10 years, these limiting beliefs, scarcity mindset, not having enough money coming in, these thoughts are going to continue to happen. And so we have to learn how to handle them right from the very beginning so that you stay in business and you allow the time for you to grow alongside of it. This can take some courage, to say the least, some courage to break free of those thoughts, break free from other people's perceptions of what you're doing. And so there's a few things that we can do to mitigate that. And I like to come into the day before I start work with a level of observation without judgment. So how is the day going to go? Is it going to go well? Yes, because I'm going to make sure it does. If I come into the day believing that it's going to be horrible, most likely it's going to be horrible. And so there are a few things that help keep me on track when I'm feeling this way, and I'll just outline them quickly for you. First and foremost is to take time and space to allow for creativity and to allow for observation without judgment. So I always sit and at least have either a brainstorming session or a meditation or just a moment to pause with myself in a place where I feel comfortable. This doesn't have to be in your office. I have a little space where I practice yoga. I often sit down and meditate for a few minutes, have a book, for example, like this one beside me, where if anything pops into my head, ideas, fears, thoughts, whatever it might be, I write them down and make sure that I deal with them. This allows me to actually have a moment with myself to have that observation without judgment, that moment to take responsibility, that moment to change my thought patterns. And this helps me to stay on track. That way, nobody else is interfering with how I'm feeling. It's just me. And so the second part is choosing to have enthusiasm and gratitude for what this life has offered me. So enthusiasm to continue, enthusiasm for the positive things that have happened in my life, and gratitude for what I am creating for myself and my family, and also the people that I coach and teach. It's such a privilege to be in this space and actually be able to coach other people. And so this gives me that unshakable faith, that perseverance, that ability to really believe that what I'm doing is important and that I will, regardless of what happens, be able to pivot and change and shift and grow within my business. And this is all encompassed under our mindset. It gives me the ability to change and grow as I go. And so my recommendation is to always take just a 5 to 10 minute pause before you sit down for the day and just jump into the task at hand. Sit down, plan out your day, make sure you have enough time, make sure you're doing it with intention, and allow yourself that moment to create and enter the day with a positive mindset. This is just going to set you up for success in the long run. I really struggled with this in the beginning, and nobody ever taught me that this was an important part of business and that I would need to have this. In fact, I ended up working so much and so hard and not listening to that little voice in my head that I had a burnout. And it's taken me almost 5 years to recover from this burnout. And so now my perspective has shifted greatly on how to guard my energy and make sure that I'm taking and making time for me as well as my business in a way that feels authentic and good. So that's a little bit on the business mindset piece. You are going to have an activity centered around this. Be sure to complete that. And thanks for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, please make sure you reach out.